I've just recorded this entire video with a piece of lettuce on my teeth. Hello, I'm Will. Welcome to the Tesla Jigsaw. I'm going to give you a brief and easy look into going on holiday in the UK with an electric car, or in my case, a Tesla Model 3. Whether you're looking to buy your first electric car or just want to see the day-to-day functionality of a Tesla, I think this video might be useful for you to watch. I'll be letting you know the good, the bad and the ugly truth that lurks within the EV world. Ooh. Let's get on with it then. Firstly, the car. Made in California, our nearly 4-year-old Tesla Model 3 is the original Standard Range Plus edition with upgraded wheels, which actually lowers my range by about 12 miles compared to the standard clip-on hubcaps. Worth the looks or a silly waste of money? What do you reckon? My full range used to show 238 miles at 100% charge, but nowadays that's about 214 miles. This is partly due to the cold weather and usually shows a little more in the summer. We've never actually needed more range, as everywhere we go there are Tesla superchargers and a vastly growing network of alternative chargers. Not that I ever want to waste my time trying to use them, more on my bitterness about that later. It's perhaps worth me mentioning that the new Standard Range Plus Teslas do have more range, a claimed 317 miles, but the compromise is that they are not quite as quick from 0 to 60 as mine. This is due to a different battery chemistry, and I promise not to bore you with that anymore. One car family. There's loads of space in all Teslas, but the Model 3 has the smallest luggage space of them all. We are always amazed though at how much stuff we can fit in it. We do have roof bars and a box we could sling on if needs be, but to be quite honest, we'd struggle to fill it. I'm an excellent packer if I do say so myself. And we tend to only take what we need. Underneath the boot is another boot, which is an incredible useful space with a cover on top. Mind your head. And a nice deep area on top for suitcases and everything else. I've only just realised there's even space on the parcel shelf for my little nylon string guitar, so that's coming on holiday too, which is quite handy because we've got a song to learn to play at a wedding the day after we come home. That's my day job, by the way. You didn't think I was a professional YouTuber earning loads of money, did you? One day, just when I think there's no chance it's all going to fit, it always fits every flipping time. There's always more room that I find. Then there's the frunk, or the fruit as it should be called here in the UK, as it's a front boot, a fruit. This is where I keep the charging cables, Tesla's emergency safety bag, which I assume has a warning triangle and maybe a few spare AA batteries should we run out of charge. I've never actually looked. Maybe I should make an exciting unzipping the bag video, that's sure to grow my audience. I like surprises, so I look forward to seeing what's in the bag if we break down. As if we're in a Tesla. I also keep a few other bits and bobs in the frunk that might come in handy one day. I've always thought it best to keep all of my cables in the frunk because if you have a full boot, it might be tricky to get your cables in and out should you need them on your travels. Also, I've heard that if your car for some reason dies completely and loses all power, you won't be able to open the frunk to get the cables out. Dilemma! I think I'll just remain hopeful that that won't ever happen. Holiday preparation. The night before, I set the charge to 100% and schedule a departure time to precondition the battery for optimal performance. Not totally necessary, but might as well to get the best efficiency from the batteries. 5 minutes before we are ready to leave, I preconditioned the cabin to heat up or cool down, depending on our crazy British weather. Not that they ever leave the frunk, but a quick check to make sure that I still have an extension lead, the Type 2 charging cable, and Tesla's 3-pin plug adapter. Pack it up, pack it in, let me begin by unplugging it. Have to unplug a car, press the button, pull it out, do that, done. And that's that. It really is as simple as plugging in your phone every night. If you have a driveway and a charger, there really is no bother to owning an electric car. Next, set the destination. If we were travelling further, the sat-nav would automatically add supercharger stops along the way. And I know from experience that 100% of the time, Tesla superchargers will be working, and there will usually be at least 8 stalls. A very different experience indeed if you are relying on other public chargers, where you might find just 2 chargers. One of which might be in use for the next hour, with a queue of cars behind that, and the other charger may be broken, with not a care in the world from the charger company to fix it in a hurry. This sole reason is why I would never get anything other than a Tesla at this point. Tesla drivers are totally spoilt with the supercharger network, unless that is, Tesla continues to open up all of their chargers to other EVs, which they are doing, and I for some reason forget that Teslas are the safest cars ever tested. I really don't want to put my family in anything else, to be quite honest. Not to mention, they are the most efficient and fun cars, but there you go, I'm a Tesla addict and can happily admit that. And if you or anyone you know has been infected with the Tesla mind virus and become a Tesla addict like myself, there is help. I've made a pandemic video above. Click on there. To be fair, there are thousands of other chargers around nowadays, of which I have not personally experienced. They may be as trustworthy as Tesla superchargers, but unfortunately this has not been my experience or anybody else's that I've ever met. If I'm wrong though, and you know that to be the case, please let me and others know in the comments below. So back to the holiday. Sat nav set, then we're off on a lovely British sunny day. Driving experience. 4 years after owning my first electric car, it still blows me away every time I drive it. The silence, the acceleration, the infotainment and sat nav, the comfort of the seats and the driving position, the panoramic glass roof, the games and features. It's so easy and relaxing to operate, yet bags of fun to drive hard and fast if you want to. I love it all so much, and it's quite honestly a ridiculous leap forward from any other car I've ever owned. There is a reason why Tesla owners just don't shut up about their cars. It's because they're incredible. Don't believe me? Book yourself a test drive. Compare specifications of other electric cars. Consider the supercharger network and superior safety, features and functionality of a Tesla. And I just don't see how anyone who has looked into this can possibly find a serious contender for a similar price. And if anybody wants to tell me that they'd never buy a Tesla because of Elon Musk, jog on with your virtue signalling phony outrage. Oh, I could never get a Tesla because Elon's a big bad billionaire. The headlines told me so. And I care so much about what other people think of me. I want to be seen dead in a Tesla. Woo! Yes, you did totally imagine that last bit. And then there's autopilot. I use this on practically every journey as it really takes the stress out of driving on major roads. It accelerates, slows, brakes, steers and will even take over if an accident is detected and you haven't spotted it. You must stay alert with hands on the wheel as it does sometimes have a wobble and need you to take over. But so long as there are lane lines on motorways, dual carriageways and even normal roads like these, it'll happily drive you for ages. Seeing how far full self-driving has improved in the US, it's only a few over-the-air updates away from becoming far better here too. The fact that one day, every Tesla on the road will receive an over-the-air update that's so good it legitimately transforms their car into a fully autonomous vehicle is mind-blowing. But I stake my non-reputation on it. It is coming. I love the giant centre screen. It's so intuitive, quick to respond, and has more to play with than an arcade. Having the speed shown in the top right corner of the screen is absolutely fine, and honestly not much effort for my eyes to do this, instead of this. The only slight niggle I have is operating the climate control. I admit I've sometimes missed real buttons and dials for this, rather than fiddling around with a touch-sensitive screen, although I do love the animation of the fans. How cool is that? Because on occasion, and for no reason at all, we find ourselves either Arctic cold or red hot despite the temperature being untouched. Or just steaming up despite no extra breathing going on. So it does require some fiddling with at times. Setting it to automatic climate does mitigate this, but I feel it's a bit wasteful to be constantly on, plus it turns off the air circulation feature, which keeps pollution out extremely well. The air filters are so good in Teslas. Again, I've had nothing as good from my previous cars. I cannot taste diesel anymore coming from the cars in front of me, which I think's lovely. Wells next the sea. 2.5 hours later, we arrive at Wells next the sea. No, I didn't pronounce that incorrectly. For some reason they forgot to add a 2 to the name, which annoys the hell out of me every time I say it. It's a lovely little seaside town with some beautiful old buildings and fishing boats coming in and out of the harbour. A pine forest stretches on for miles.
What is my daddy doing?
Running parallel to a spectacular beach that is huge and is my favourite place on earth to go for a run in the morning and then have a swim in the sea to cool off. And yes, it's always freezing. There's loads of things to do in the area, like taking a steam train along the coastal route to Sheringham, visiting Cromer, just a little bit further along, and of course it wouldn't be a great British holiday without fish and chips and fun in the arcade. I'll stop there before this turns into a holiday channel, but if you like quaint English seaside towns, Wells is lovely. So happily for us, my uncle owns a caravan right next to the beach, where we've been bringing our kids since they were born. In fact, the day after we picked up our Tesla, we came here and figured out charging once we got here. So let me talk to you about the different ways to charge an electric car when you go on holiday. Charging experience. Since owning this car, I've charged roughly 95% of the time from home, 3% from Tesla superchargers and 2% from things like free chargers which you find dotted around the place at shopping centres, hotels or the odd restaurant. When we stay at the caravan, I'll throw an extension lead out of the window and charge it slowly overnight. It's best to lower the amperage in your car to make sure it doesn't trip the power should you boil the kettle at the same time and overload the fuse box, for example. 8 amps should be fine for any old fuse box to cope. With electricity prices through the roof at present in the UK, The Caravan site gets charged 43p per kilowatt hour. So if I add 20 kilowatts of charge overnight, this would be a ludicrously expensive £8.60 onto the electric bill. Back at home on an overnight tariff just a year ago, we were paying only 5p per kilowatt hour, which totaled just £1 for those same 20 kilowatts. Despite today's hopefully temporary expense, it is still of course way cheaper than petrol or diesel, but disappointing to see the huge rise in cost for electricity, especially seeing as the UK grid is getting cleaner and greener each year with renewable energy, some of which we can see from this very beach. I'm still yet to understand why it is just the UK with extortionate energy costs, while everyone else in Europe seems to be ticking along as normal. And if you do happen to know the answer to that, let me know in the comments below. So back to charging from a Caravan. It's obviously nice to work out how much electricity you've used if you do charge this way on holiday, and pay the owner for the extra used. Gone are the days of super cheap £2 fill-ups, so do the right thing and work out your kilowatt usage and pay the owner for what you've used if you do fill up this way. Unless of course it's included in the price you pay for the holiday. Many holiday homes include charging facilities these days, as it's obviously a no-brainer to entice more business to you if you offer a plug socket or a dedicated charger. Whilst on our holiday, our car flashed up a warning that it required a full service, so I had to do this. Windscreen washer fluid done. Remember, there is no engine, no gearbox, clutch, spark plugs, oil, belts, all gone in favour of a floor of rechargeable batteries and a single electric motor driving the rear wheels. Electric cars really are the ultimate efficiency machines, and the true cost of ownership over time is incredible, as you do not have parts to replace or anything other than tyres and windscreen wash to maintain. The ugly bit then. Charging from public chargers. But before I do that, if you're a lovely person, please do give this video a like and possibly subscribe if you want to see more of this. Sorry, it's all I've got. There has never been a problem charging my car using an extension lead and the Tesla adapter. There has never been a problem charging my car at a Tesla supercharger location. Yet at every other charger I have tried to use over the years, apart from the free to charge ones, there has always been unforeseen complications, annoyances, technical issues, unhelpful help at the end of helplines, and is simply way too complicated for the vast majority of people to use. Take this holiday park's brand new charger installation. For starters, there are 6 chargers, 4 of which cannot be accessed due to these bins being parked in the way. I did manage to speak to a member of staff who assured me that they were being taken away soon, but had nowhere else to store them until then. Here's what you need to do then, in order to charge your car using these Park Recharge chargers. Grab your Type 2 charging cable. Plug one end into the charger first, and then the other into your car. Notice the QR code on the charger. Open your phone and scan it, i.e. take a photo of it. Download the app onto your phone. Add all of your personal details. Add credit onto your new account, and this is where my first attempt ended, as Apple Pay needed me to do 2-factor authentication, but my phone barely had any signal, so on my first charging attempt I had to give up after 15 minutes. I spent the rest of the day with some Bill Burr rage in the background, wondering what I might have done differently. Day 2, and solely for the purpose of this video, and you dear viewer, I tried it again. Something I hadn't realised before, which other newbies wouldn't either, is that each charger has its own code on it, which you have to enter on the app before it'll work. It just so happens to be helpfully hidden behind some of the units. Once you find the correct code, enter it onto the app when prompted, ensure you've credited some money onto your account, plug it all in again, get down onto your knees and have a quick pray to the God of your choice, and hallelujah, it works. Not that you can actually tell on the chargers themselves, as you can't read anything on these awful displays. But if the light is green on a Tesla, the electrons are flowing and you are charging. I assume that every car will display something on its screen inside and give you information such as charging progress, charging speed and a completion time. I could also see on my Tesla app exactly what was going on. Do remember to increase the amperage to get the maximum charging speed, as this is something rarely mentioned and worth knowing. It will then calculate how long it will take to reach the range limit you set at the current charge speed. In my case, it was going to take an hour and a half to complete. I didn't actually need much charge anyway. These are 7 kilowatt chargers, which will add roughly 40 miles per hour to your car. So you might need to leave your car here for roughly 5 hours to reach a full enough charge from empty. For the sake of anyone else wanting to use the charger though, always move your car as soon as it's finished charging, and never use the charging station as the place to park, even if you have an electric car. That's the equivalent of parking at the window of your favourite fast food drive-through and then going for a 5-hour hike. When you are done charging, go to the app, make sure to stop the charge if it hasn't come to the end already, unlock your charge port, which admittedly I sometimes forget to do, and shout at it to release until I remember. Remove the cable, pop it back into your car, and that's that. Every time I go through this new charger process, I end up stressed, frustrated, in need of a beer, and just wish all chargers were as simple as a Tesla supercharger to use. I guess I've been spoilt, but I hate the thought of new EV drivers struggling to understand charging and risk souring their opinions of electric cars based on this alone. I really hope this has shed some light onto what to expect and has been valuable to you. Electric vehicle charger types. It's probably worth me just quickly recapping the 3 main charger types. First, the level 3 or rapid chargers. These are the quickest, most powerful chargers and include the Tesla supercharger network, and for a normal charge time would be around 20 to 30 minutes. Second is level 2 or fast chargers. This is my home charger and similar to the ones I've just showed you at the holiday park. Roughly 4 to 6 hours is how long it takes to fully charge. Third is level 1 or slow chargers, which is an adapter that you plug into a normal household socket, and what I used to charge up from the Caravan using an extension lead. This can take anywhere from 12 to 24 hours to charge fully. Home time! After a week of fun, sun and a run, we were done and headed back to my studio where I'd begun. But not before stopping at a Tesla supercharger for no other reason than to show you how simple charging can be. When selecting home from the sat-nav, it automatically routes me to the nearest supercharger, should it not have enough range to get me home. Plug it in, charge, it's that easy, and shows just how well thought out and simple it could be if other charging companies followed Tesla's lead. Let's not forget though, no other car company has built out a dedicated worldwide supercharger network. All these independent charging companies hold no responsibility or reflection of the car companies they serve, hence are not held accountable for broken, complicated, untrustworthy, expensive charging infrastructure. You want to be mad at anyone, go knock on the door of Mercedes or BMW or Volkswagen and say, "Where's your chargers?" Dear car companies, it would have been so useful for you to build out a network of chargers, just as Tesla has done over these years, and you have missed the opportunity to stay relevant and ahead of the game in a world transition into electric cars. You were too slow, too stubborn and unwilling to take the necessary risk in moving away from traditional ICE cars, and I guess I could just sum up my frustration with you and just say, I think you're really naughty. Hang your heads in shame. I get that this charging malarkey might look a bit of a faff. We were all so used to filling up at petrol stations without a care in the world from where our next few gallons of fuel were going to come from. But from the bottom of my heart, electric cars are absolutely amazing, far more fun, cheaper to run, way easier and more pleasurable to drive, and I promise you, nowhere near as problematic as the mainstream media, car manufacturers, oil companies, and in some places this very video, me, would have you believe. Yes, there are a few compromises to be had, especially if you can't charge from home or a place of work, for example. But the vast majority of people have no idea how simple switching to an EV can be. And my enthusiasm comes from a place that just wants to spread the word about what a fantastic experience EVs can be to drive and own. I'd strongly recommend doing some homework when choosing an electric car. A great place to start would be my top tips for buying your first electric car. Little black card in the corner if you want to watch that. I don't know which corner. And here is the ultimate in simplicity, plugging in at home, scheduling your charge overnight to make use of off-peak cheaper rates. It's so simple, I never have to think about it. Just plug in and wake up to a full tank of electrons. Our next goal is to get solar panels and battery storage for our home, to create our own energy, and I can't wait to do a video about that someday. Between me and you, I might need to figure out how to earn a bit more money from YouTube before embarking on transforming our home to an off-grid, sustainable, energy abundant wonder home, but fingers crossed. If you have any questions, please do get in touch in the comments below. I'm more than happy to help with anything if I can, and I hope you found this valuable in some way. Obviously feel free to share this with friends and family, do like and subscribe, and check out my other rather different videos that are shown up here. I'm Will, this is the Tesla Jigsaw, thanks for watching.